Hello everyone, welcome back to Witch is the Moon, Season 8, Week 3, Week 3, Week 2, Week 3, I'm not sure which anymore. All I know is, by the time you're saying this, yesterday will be Thanksgiving, but it's actually tomorrow. So, I have on my lovely little turkey hat. I'm probably going to go, well, no, I'm just going to leave it on. It's pinned to my head, so you're stuck with the turkey today. This week, we are covering our favorite magical oils, like our favorite recipe. And I have one that I wanted to show you guys that I use. It can be used as an anointing oil for a love spell. You can use it to anoint someone or to anoint their pillow. I use it for a lot of different reasons. I don't just use it in love spells. I use it in peace promoting spells, like to increase a feeling of love in general, not just romantic love, but just love in general, so that it brings peace and harmony to the household. Sometimes I will anoint my doors with it. I will anoint pillows with it. I will anoint poppets with it. I have used it to anoint candles, to anoint myself, and it's probably one of my most go-to kinds of recipes, that and Lady Grey Bancer's road opener oil. But if you want to see that, you'll have to go to her channel and watch it. So before I came home, I went ahead and gathered up some of the materials that I'm going to need, and so I'm going to try to show this to you guys. I don't know how well it's going to turn out. I'm not liking the color I'm seeing on my computer, but you can see I already have my herbs kind of mixed in here, and I'm going to explain what's in this mix and give you guys some substitutions that I'll sometimes make, because to be honest with you, my recipes and my spells tend to change each time I do them. I rarely ever do anything exactly the same way twice, just because it depends on what materials I have at hand, what changes I'm making to it, how I'm tweaking the spell, and so on and so forth. But just to kind of give you an idea what's in it. Now, when you're doing a magical oil, you want to be cautious, because some things do not last long. Certain herbs don't last a long time in oil. They will mold, they will mildew, they'll go bad, and then when you open your oil, instead of getting a nice pleasant kind of fragrance, you're going to go, ugh, what happened? Or it's going to mildew and ruin the bottles. Now, I am the kind of person that will reuse my bottles. This happens to be a spell oil called from a company called Art of the Root. It's for hoodoo. It's Crown of Success oil. So this is one size jar, and I find that this is actually, this will probably last me for eons. I mean, I don't know if I can show you guys. I have a new camera, so bear with me here. You see all these oils I got over here that my husband got me? He bought me all these oils recently, and I'm like, I don't know what he thought I was going to use them for, but he got me 2 bottles of the Crown of Success, so I think he's hoping that our business grows a little. Another oil that I really, really like, this is called Celtic Sanctuary. It's by Joey Morris. It's from her shop Starry-Eyed Supplies, and she tends to pick herbs that last quite a long time in the oil. I've had this bottle about a year now, and it still smells really good to me. I really like it because it has kind of an earthy smell to it, and it just kind of reminds me of being home. But another thing I wanted to show in the difference in these is that this is a glass jar and this is plastic. I don't think it really matters what size jar or bottle you use. When I am doing this recipe, I will usually use a jar about this size, because this is an oil where some of these herbs, like the jasmine, are very delicate, and it won't last very long. Some of the rose petals and stuff, I've had the mildew in the past. So I will just make as much as I need to do the spell, maybe last me a couple of months, and then after that, and if there's any left, I give it back to the earth, and I'll make a new batch. You can make them in as small a bottle as this, and they work really well. Sometimes, if it's something I'm going to be using a lot of, like a road opener oil, I'll use the size jar. And I like these because I'm really fond of jars with corks. But to be honest with you, the corks do absorb the oil, and so you always have something left over from the previous oil. So you want to be careful, because, for example, right here, I have a death oil or a doom oil that I made. And, you know, that's a lot. But I plan on using a whole lot. I actually gifted some to somebody else. So, you know, I've got this oil that's been sitting on my Morgan altar here, kind of absorbing her energies. But that's about the largest jar of oil I personally will make. I know some people make really large batches of oils because they may use a lot of them, but me personally, I do not. So again, this particular oil I would probably make in a jar about this size. I would not use all of this. Woo! I just spilled all of my herbs. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, folks, it's been that kind of a day. It's the day before Thanksgiving. My husband's complaining about the Christmas decorations. My daughter is, you know, not going to be here for the first Thanksgiving ever, and yeah, it's been a fun day in Miss Natalie's house. It's precisely why I wanted this daggum oil. Well, now I have a lot less of the herb. My dog's down here licking up all my herbs. Okay, dude, I don't know if that's a good idea, but yeah, I don't think there's anything in there that's going to harm him. But in any case, I'm going to go over what I had in here at this point. Some days. Well, it's just raw, folks. All right, so in this particular blend, what I had in here, Roxy. And the reason I added these things is this particular oil was actually going to be an oil for a love spell, a romantic love spell that I was working for someone. Would you stop? Thank you. She's getting cantankerous in her old age. But I had blue vervain in here, and blue vervain is very good to promote chastity or fidelity within the relationship. So if you're wanting someone to just be faithful to you, even as a friend, like if you were doing this as almost like an anointing for a friendship type of love, you could still add blue vervain, because chastity, one thing, but fidelity is a big thing. So you want to promote a sense of loyalty to you, and that's what that particular herb does. And I don't know if I can show it to you, but it's this little flaky one here. I don't think you're going to be able to see that. I also added some rose petals and some rose hips. You can probably see some of the little red ones in there. I'm trying to get it in front of the camera. There you go. Some of the little red ones. I also added passion flower. Passion flower is very good for, of course, passion, but for any kind of love, it's a really good kind of really almost an all-purpose herb in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not all-purpose, but it does serve a lot of different functions. But it's very good for promoting harmony and love and passion and just joy, in my opinion. I think it's very good for joy. I had in here also some yerba mate. Yerba mate is for good old-fashioned lust. It's just, it's lusty. So I added a little bit of that, which I'm hoping is still in here. I may have to go remix this. Try to scrape what's left off of the mat under my computer that the dog hasn't licked up. That's great. I also added in jasmine. Jasmine is the little white buds that you can see in there, like right over here. There it is. That's jasmine. And jasmine is just a well-known herb for love and romance and that kind of thing. I put in rosemary, because I think rosemary is a good all-purpose herb. I think that it's good for protection, so to protect the relationship, to protect the two people that are, you know, or the person that you're casting this for, but also to kind of promote friendship. To me, rosemary is almost kind of a friendly sort of herb. If I'm doing friendship versus romantic love, I might change out the red rosebuds for yellow rose petals, because the yellow rose is known for love. So I will sometimes do that. Sometimes if it's for passionate love or for romantic love, I'll put both in there, because in order to have a good relationship, you've got to have both the passion and the friendship, because the friendship is what gets you through the times when you look at the person and think, I don't really like you. But, you know, you kind of plug through and that sort of thing. So I find it very good for that. I also added a little bit of sunflower. Sunflower, because I like for the sun to shine upon it. It gives a nice solar energy to it, and it gives a brightness to the relationship, to the household, to the whatever. Because like I said, you can use this also to just promote a sense of good feeling in the home. I also put in spearmint, and the reason I add spearmint to mine, and I know that's not something a lot of people will add to it, but I add spearmint because spearmint, great, there's a dog hair in here now. Got to get that out, don't I? I add spearmint because spearmint promotes healing. And anytime you have a relationship where you're dealing with, you know, more than one person, which is any relationship, you are going to have moments of strife and moments of difficulty, and you want the friendship there to work through those moments. You want the love there to work through those moments. But you also want something that's going to promote healing within the relationship. So that's what I add in here. Now, sometimes you can add mullein leaf, and that works really well too. And if you want a like passionate love and you don't have any yerba mate, you can also add a chili pepper. And if I do add this, I'm obviously not going to add this entire thing to this tiny little jar. So I'll crush this up, or I'll get crushed pepper like with the when they bring you your pizza. and I'll just put some of that in there. So that's the other thing I will add is some chili pepper. And so I will take all of these herbs and I will make, I'm so sorry, I'm having one of those nights. I will put some intention into the herbs themselves. I will speak into them. As I add each one, I speak my intent and its purpose into the herbs, and I let the herbs kind of sit for a little while. I'll cover them up and I'll let them sit for a day or two so that the energies really meld well. And then what I will do is I will take my jar, and I always put the herbs in first. So I'll put a few little herbs in there. I'll try to get as much of the mixture in there. I'm one of these people that I like a really herby kind of oil, if that makes any sense to anybody besides me. What I mean by that is that if you will look, you'll see that Jo has a lot of herb in her oil. Now it settles to the bottom, so before you use it, you want to shake it, but the energy's already mixed in, so it doesn't really matter. But you'll notice that these people, they don't use nearly as much herb in theirs. And it could be because they don't last as long sometimes, depending on the herbs, and you don't want it to melt. So I'll pack my little jar full of herb here. So I've got my little jar full of herbs like this. And notice there's a little bit of room. Then I will use either olive oil or I use grapeseed oil. I like grapeseed oil because grapeseed oil is very light and it is very, it doesn't have a lot of scent to it, so it kind of takes in the essence of the herbs that you are putting into your oil. So I'll pack as much little herb in there as I can get. I started to dump this out and I really don't know why. It was kind of ding-dongy of me. But it's been that kind of a night, as you can hear by the dogs who are horsing around tonight. And I'm trying to get this done because I still have notes to do, and I have all this stuff to do tomorrow. And then the next 3 days are going to be putting out the Christmas lights, because come hell or high water, I'm putting my Christmas lights back up. I don't care if Harold enjoys it or doesn't want to do it or not. I do. So I'll put in, I like to pack it. Now, you probably don't want to put that much in there, but I like to myself. So then what I will do is I will take the oil, and I just simply add the oil. I'll pour it in nice and slow so that it has time to kind of sink in through the herb, because if you do it too fast, it'll overflow, and then you'll just have an oily mess everywhere. So I'll add in the oil, just a few drops at a time. And again, as I'm pouring in the oil, I like to put in my intention. Or once I've added the oil, I will re-speak my intention into the oil, and I will state what this purpose is. So then I will have this nice, lovely little beautiful oil right here. And you just shake it up. And that's when I'll speak my intention into the oil. And again, you know, I like a really herby oil. I like it to really be packed, but you don't have to put this much in there. You can do half and half, and that's probably better. I just happen to like an herby oil. So that is my recipe for that. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry that there was a lot of distraction with barking dogs and wrestling dogs and big fat doofuses. What? Well, I have a visitor. This is Bo. Thank you, Bo. Thank you. Yes. He's the pup in the household. He chews everything in sight. But look at that face. How can you not love that face? He had one of his ears chewed off before we got him. He's a shelter dog, and my daughter adopted him. She saw his little one wonky ear and had to have him. So he came home to us with stitches in his ears. And he just wants to wrestle and play with everybody. So he's part of the reason why I need the oil, to promote the peace in the household. Because even amongst the animals, and my husband just has a coronary if he's wrestling around too much with the other dogs. He's very young. He's only a year old. Our other dog that you hear barking here, that's Roxy. She's 16, and she's cantankerous and mean and has hip dysplasia and is just doesn't like it when the younger dogs play, even if they're not right on her. But our other two dogs are about 4 years old each, and he just wants to wrestle and play with them constantly. So, anywho, this oil is good for promoting that kind of peace in the household, so you don't lose your sanity, so you can enjoy that. And anyway, I'm babbling on now. Sorry, I'm just waffling on far too long, as someone once said to one of my videos. I hope you all have a wonderful, or had a wonderful Thanksgiving. For those of you that celebrate, those that don't, due to the atrocities being perpetrated upon the Native Americans on a day-to-day basis. I fully understand. But to me, I try not to think of the day as Pilgrims and Indians. I like to think of it just as a day to be thankful and kind of a final harvest celebration, so to speak. That's, yeah, but anywho, we won't go into that. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching. Sorry that I babbled. I hope you all have a great day.